listening to What the Truck.
Boom! Chad, welcome back to the Truth Booth. Hey, how was your It's weird, right? We were talking about right before we went on air. Like, today is Wednesday, but, like, I don't know. I feel like I'm lost in the world. I'm still on mountain time, and there's a long weekend. There's a lot to put me through.
I want to stay on mountain time, kind of. It's like a lost time, I know. And it was a great Labor Day, and I kind of lost myself out there on the Hiawassee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you
Still on river
paddleboarding?
time. I was kayaking.
Kayaking.
Yeah.
All right. We're talking about a river. You said you had to stage your cars, right? And I was like, well, why don't you just paddle back? And then you told me about things called currents.
Yeah. Like,
Got a little,
it's kind of hard to go up that stream with or without a paddle.
Chad, remember we talked about the bullwhip effect?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Popeye's chicken, right? Have you had the new sandwich?
We've talked about this.
I know, but have you had the sandwich?
I still haven't, but apparently I'm missing out.
A lot of people haven't, and it's been causing chaos. There's Popeyes in Houston.
There
People
is.
drew a gun.
I mean, it's the fourth largest city in the United States.
Yeah.
I would think they'd have a Popeyes.
Yes, but do they all have people drawing guns on the workers there because they ran out of a chicken sandwich?
They're the fourth largest city in the United States. You would think that they'd be able to keep those things in stock.
I think this viral marketing campaign is going a little bit too far, Chad.
Well, that'll teach them to run out and to have, if they had listened to us about the bullwhip effect.
Yeah. And we didn't say that in Texas. We said that in Denver. But I went to Texas for the first time ever when I went to GATS.
Yeah.
I was just over there. You rendezvoused with me in Denver. But now we just got news as of
right.
a few hours ago that you and I and What the Truck will be going to tell the people.
The fourth largest city in the United States.
The fourth largest city, Houston there.
Giddy up.
Woo! And we're going where are we going? The Insight User Conference in Houston on 9/15 to 9/18, I believe it's going to be.
Yes.
We're going to try and maybe catch an Astros game when they play the Rangers.
Yes, you can see us there.
T-shirt
we'll be
Tuesday.
there.
We'll be like Ferris Bueller, catching foul balls in the audience.
We are going to be podcasting on the 16th and 17th of September. So stay tuned for that.
But not the 15th and 18th.
No, we fly in on the 15th.
Oh.
And depart, I think, on the
18th. Okay. All right. Sounds like we're still finalizing those details, but we will be there.
Is the 18th Tuesday? No, that's Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry to bother you with that.
Yeah.
Viewers.
We'll get to the headlines. A lot of stories. A lot of stories to get to.
Get us going.
We'll get our stories straight on Friday. We'll be coming at you with another episode on Friday. Today's Wednesday. The schedule is a little bit rejiggered. But here we go. Well, here's one for you, Chad. Federal agency rules misclassifying employees is not a violation. Trucking companies that misclassify drivers as independent contractors are not violating federal law, according to the National Labor Relations Board. That's the NLRB.
That's an important board.
Yeah, 3 of the agency's 4 board members held that an employer's mere communications to his workers that it believes they are independent contractors does not violate the NLRA if that opinion is later found to be wrong. And according to the board, they had this to say when they issued their ruling on August 29th. It said such communication does not inherently threaten those employees with termination or other adverse actions if they engage in activities protected by the NLRA, nor does it communicate that it would be futile for them to engage in such activities.
Yeah, I see what's going on here.
Yeah.
That determination was made after the board applied a decision it made on a case earlier this year, Super Shuttle DFW, that was the name of the case. It was involving Medical Express delivery company Velox Express.
That's a pretty cool name. Like
Velox?
for a case? No, Super Shuttle DFW.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there. It's like they're trying to be attention
Better
getters.
than some of the other cases we've read.
The board found that Velox Express workers are employees, not independent contractors. So, therefore, Velox Express violated the NLRA when it fired an employee for complaining about the way workers were being treated. However, the board held that the company misclassifying its employees as independent contractors in and of itself was not a separate violation. This ruling is considered by legal experts as the latest in a string of wins this year for employers, including trucking companies, that can avoid significant wage and benefit costs by hiring workers classified as independent contractors versus employees.
This seems like something that's going to come up a lot more often as we talk about the gig economy, things like that. It's been state by state.
Yep.
Saw that big ruling in California.
Right, Dynamex.
Yeah.
We covered that a lot in 2018, and yes, and New Jersey's got some groundbreaking Supreme Court laws as well. This is kind of a counter to those. It seems like it's saying, hey, you can't just arbitrate based upon this one misclassification of the definition of an employee or contractor.
Yeah.
Interesting. U.S. is to leave Global Postal Union next month, barring last-minute action. The exit could send global parcel rates soaring. Get this. Barring an 11th-hour agreement, the U.S. Postal Service will leave you might not have known this existed, the Universal Postal Union, the UPU, on, very soon, October 17th. Ending 144 years of U.S. involvement in the international body that governs the exchange of mail and postal parcels between countries, and perhaps fundamentally changing the landscape of global air shipping. Members of the 192-member United Nations body will gather on September 25th and 26th in Geneva, Switzerland, in the only extraordinary Congress, as they call it, in UPU history. Or it's only the third time that they've had to do this. The key agenda item will be to vote on what UPU is calling the possible revision of small packet remuneration rates, which is the core issue to determine the future of U.S. involvement. Unless the UPU agrees to the proposal by a September 30 deadline, Dooner. The U.S. will leave the Union 17 days later and over time begin a framework of bilateral negotiations with individual postal authorities. The self-declare regime would begin in 2020.
Yeah, I don't know if this is more grandstanding or what, but the practical effect of the exit of the U.S. would be a rate increase of at least 300% on postal parcel traffic to the U.S. from heavy net exporting countries as rates kept artificially low for decades begin to normalize. Their subsidies go away. According to Matthew White, a strategist for iDrive Logistics, a consultancy working with customers to prepare contingency plans for the possible U.S. exit.
Did I hear that right? Did you say at least 300% parcel rate increase?
Yeah.
That seems like a lot.
I guess. How much is the stamp right now?
51 cents? I don't know. We bought a lot of these forever stamps.
It's like $1.53 to send us.
For just a stamp, just for a little, that's really going to change some things.
Yeah, but if you think about it, so here's what's cool about the Postal Service. And not about the rates, but here's what's cool. Like, if you think about it, you take a letter, right? You throw it, it's such a weird system. Because you take a letter, you throw it in a box, and for 51 cents, or, it used to be even cheaper, someone would take that and, take it anywhere in the country for you. Go through a box and they'd sort it, and it just seems like almost like madness.
Well, it's crazy, but it's madness that you can just walk, drive over about 5 minutes and hop on a thing and be floating across the 30,000 feet in the air.
Is the world getting too advanced for us? The world's getting crazy. This is from today's pickup. That's one of my favorite articles on our site. South African violence highlights deadly campaign against foreign truckers. So President Cyril Ramaphosa
nice pronunciation.
pledges to crack down on xenophobic violence, which has claimed the lives of more than 200 foreign truckers since 2018. Ramaphosa said on September 3rd he would address the xenophobic attacks after 5 people were killed, Chad. But the campaign against foreign truckers has lasted far longer than that, and it's claimed more than 200 lives since March of 2018, according to research from South Africa's Road Freight Association.
Yeah, it's a bad scene. Human Rights Watch highlighted the staggering death toll in an August report that called for South African authorities to urgently intervene. This is what HRW wrote. Groups of people claiming to be South African truck drivers have thrown gasoline bombs at trucks and shot at, stoned, stabbed, and harassed foreign truck drivers to force them out of the trucking industry.
Wow.
That's taking things next level.
Yeah. I was, when I worked at FedEx Trade Networks, there was a big protest that was going on at the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of union workers would sit there, and they would get pretty aggressive. Not this aggressive. They weren't dragging people through the streets, but they were throwing things at people's cars, blocking the entryway, blocking the exit way, and in general intimidating people.
Well, that's a typical,
which is weird because we worked for the brokerage. I was just filing entries.
Right.
I don't have anything to do with your struggle.
Right. You're just I'm the middleman here.
Yeah.
But
just want to get home.
Yeah, but strike breakers, it can make strikers mad, but
Yeah. But we weren't breaking any strike. We were literally just working operations.
No, not you, but
Yeah.
but this is different. This is
Yeah.
based on there's some extreme violence and racism that keeps coming out of that area.
Yeah.
From the port report, ocean shipping rates reflecting September optimisms. Finally, some good news, perhaps, here.
Sort of.
Well, forwarders and ocean carriers are betting a major holiday in Asia and seasonal inventory building at U.S. retailers will provide a boost to container shipping rates. Despite the short-term bump, one outlook for 2019 suggests the container shipping industry will remain challenged. Oh, okay. So spot rates on one of the busiest ocean trade lanes for moving containerized goods are starting September at the highest level seen in nearly 2 months. The Freightos Baltic Index on Sonar for China, North America, West Coast sat at 1,617 per 40-foot equivalent unit. That's an FEU as of September 3rd. The index reflects spot transactions for capacity on eastbound trans-Pacific container ships.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Okay.
So the $329 per FEU jump from August 30th reflects the general rate increase. That's a GRI. The container ship lines have thus far pushed through to customers. Mediterranean Shipping Company, MSC, that's the one that actually had the cocaine on it, right?
You're using a lot of terms.
They issued a $1,000 increase per standard FEU for eastbound shipments from Asia to U.S. ports starting in September. The increase drops to $600 per FEU on September 15th. MSC is saying that freight rates are unsustainable and they can't make a buck on the water. So I guess the optimism there is based on this. Usually when a shipping line puts out a GRI, many times it will not be honored. Like all of the shippers will be like, nah. And the carriers will be like, oh, okay, never mind.
They'll be like, there is a rate increase, generally a rate increase. And then they'll be like, no. And they'll be like, okay. Well, then like,
they're like, no. And then they'll be like, you know what? We're not seeing the confidence in this rate increase. And then that's that. Yeah.
Yeah, if only everything worked that way, like the USPS raising our stamps.
Is JP here? Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit of this Hurricane Dorian. We've heard so much about it. If it's done anything to the freight market, we've had a lot of coverage on there. I know he wrote an article talking about market distortions.
He is not, but you know who is? Daniel Pickett is here.
Is he? We can jump Pickett in if we can. Daniel Pickett, we'll go with you instead, sir.
Oh, reliable.
Good to bring you here.
Daniel Pickett.
Yeah, we'll do a little
King of the data frontier, as I always say. Welcome aboard. Good to have you here.
Time to go.
It's been a while.
It's time we get off the blockchain.
The blockchain?
Turn down the lights.
The blockchain. Let's make it digital. Let's make it digital, Chicken.
Time to get digital,
Pickett.
All right. Good to have you on. How you doing, Pickett?
I'm just grooving to that smooth beat.
That's smooth.
Well,
yeah.
Thanks.
You didn't bring your giant growler with you in here.
No, I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
How much liquid does that hold?
So it's 52 ounces. It's a Buc-ee's mug. Everything's bigger in Texas, so naturally.
That's right, and we're headed there pretty soon. Again,
Yeah.
Houston.
Yeah, Houston for the
Houston
Insight User Conference. I believe Tremble puts that one on.
Yep. I did that one last year.
Oh, is it a good one? What should we look out for?
There's always a lot of interesting tech talk there. There's a lot of vendors that are kind of doing creative things. You're back in South Texas, so you've got to go get some solid Tex-Mex, obviously.
Yeah.
I get to reuse my cowboy hat.
Right.
Sounds pretty good to me. Well, before we get into the tech stuff happening with Sonar, let's talk about a different kind of data application that's happening, a tech application that's kind of becoming a menace.
A menace?
To society.
What is?
The e-scooters.
The e-scooters. We're still talking about those.
I know, yeah.
Okay.
We're still talking about them.
Right.
What's the latest that's been happening with them? They're going viral.
So they are. The way I describe it is they're awesome in a city where you're a tourist.
Yeah.
And they're miserable in a city where you're a resident.
Yeah.
Right?
They were in Dallas. I thought it was like insanity because they're dockless. And it just seems like the companies came and they poured like thousands of them on the streets.
Yeah.
And it's just madness in the streets. People just leave them wherever they please. And there's a report we're going to get into later, but like half of the people that are injured on there that have had like blood tests, they found that they're above the legal limit on alcohol, and they also have like THC and methamphetamine in them.
Oh my
All
gosh.
ingredients to make you want to just like scoot.
No, I mean,
how fast do they go?
Probably not more than 10 or 15 miles.
Oh,
an
they
hour.
go
I mean,
more
not,
than 10. They
Really?
go 5, don't they?
But,
I don't know.
But nobody wears helmets.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, you're still very much driving under the influence. If you get one of those out on the road, like, okay, maybe you're not going to kill somebody in a car. You're going to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Right.
Every town that's had them, the hospitals kind of are one of the places that people talk about being a menace because people come in with just, I mean, head injuries spike. The police generally think of them as a menace because it's people, whack a mirror and run off because they don't have a license plate.
Yeah.
Exactly. When you're a tourist and you've got to get somewhere and you're like, I need to make it 8 blocks in 2 minutes. You're like, oh, this is the perfect solution.
And this is a guy who swims in Ironman competition, so you don't need no e-scooter. You got your own
your own method of getting away.
Yeah. I'm telling you though, when it's hot out, it's you get a little breeze on you. I've done it. It's really nice as a tourist somewhere. I even have one of the same types, the Segway version, the 9-bot.
Like a Razor.
Like the electric Razor. My kids have the electric Razors. They're super fun, but when you're sitting in downtown traffic, people are whizzing by, bumping mirrors and drunk people are over them. It is. I understand why people, when it's in your town, it feels like a nuisance.
Do you think there's a future for them? Is there an application in which these can become something less than the menace that they currently are?
They're probably banned for insurance reasons soon enough. I mean.
Man, you guys are just thinking you're
No, so I think there's cities that have just said go for it, guys, go nuts, and there's cities that have said, all right, we're going to allow 100. Now we're going to allow 200. Now we're going to allow and they sort of like
different kind
play
of
this
regulation.
game of ratcheting it up and seeing what is that critical mass at which we go, okay, this is a problem now, or maybe we allow them in daylight, we don't allow them at night. It seems like every city's sort of doing it differently, and certainly the ones that have some modicum of restriction maybe are less annoyed with them.
Well, it's an endlessly fascinating subject. You are the chief data scientist here from the very beginning of Sonar. Man, you have seen it since it was first going to come out in March 2018, ended up coming out in May 2018, and all the way until now. All right. We're doing some new things with it. What are we doing?
Well, the big news, right, is because of the hurricane. We opened it up. We opened up to people out there, and I believe till the 6th, right?
So the end of this week, kind of now that the hurricane, we thought it was going to be in southern Florida yesterday or day before. Now it's looking like maybe more Outer Banks, North Carolina, Charleston area later this week. So I wouldn't be shocked if we extend that a little longer now that the impact zone's different and probably the impact time is a little different. But it's been incredible. The uptake on that and just the people who want to see kind of freight data overlaid with, the spaghetti charts, the multi-model hurricane paths. It's really huge. I mean, the users, I stopped counting. I've been in back-to-back meetings, but early yesterday we were over 1,000. I mean, really, really fast. So we're well into the thousands now. We've kind of, it surprised us. We were flattered that people really wanted to use this during this time of crisis. So it's overwhelmed us we've had to kind of bulk up some of our technical resources. We've had to bulk up our customer support resources to kind of make sure people are getting these accounts, getting in everything.
Well, I've been finding it very user-friendly with the, under the global pages, all the Dorian, the Dorian video, the traffic and road conditions, and the different ways to use that. It just like they materialized, and then I can see that being an incredible application. Of Sonar.
Really, really helpful. And our market experts team, which we've got Nick Austin doing weather, we've got Strickland and Donnie and all these guys doing kind of freight data. It's really great because you can see the road conditions, you can see what areas are trucks avoiding, what areas are still having healthy freight in and out. And we even do a little bit of work with FEMA and Allen Aid, who kind of coordinates disaster relief to those areas where we can get into the detailed GPS data and tell them, okay, grocery stores seem to be still getting truck traffic in this county, but not in this county. We did that through the 2 hurricanes last year, and we've already been in touch with them this year. So
that's fantastic.
So do you think that we'll be seeing more opportunities here in the future if there's big critical events going to happen that we're going to open up Sonar to the masses again, or is this just kind of a one-off experiment?
I don't know. I think we sort of had this idea and put it into place at the last minute and rolled with it. So I do think it's really helpful for people, especially as it, Sonar is it is a massively complex tool. When people first get in, they're like, "Oh my god, that's like the
Yeah.
cockpit of a 747. I see all these buttons and knobs. I don't know what to do."
Yeah.
So the market experts have done a really good job of having those curated global pages. So I definitely would not say never again. I think it does help people. And ideally, if it helps people kind of figure out what is going on around a crisis, and where do I need to send my trucks or avoid sending my trucks, or
Yes.
if the path is changing, where do we need to kind of think about changing our strategy to move freight early, hold off? We'd love for people to kind of benefit from that during a crisis, but then also say, wow, this could be really useful for me, even when I'm not in a crisis.
Yeah.
This is a powerful tool for kind of helping me plan and be a little bit more efficient.
Well, Dan, before you hit the cowbell, how do people sign up? They've got about, a day and a half left to experience the free trial.
Yeah. FreightWaves.com. Maybe you've heard of it.
Yeah.
If you go on there, you cannot miss all of sonar. Get a free trial now. Hurricane Dorian relief. You can't miss it on FreightWaves.com.
Nice. Well, thanks for joining us. I know you've been waiting to waiting and wanting.
Absolutely. I know
for a
that
very long time.
the legendary cowbell.
That's Bessie. Yeah.
Nice.
Wow, you've been
Hey,
saving
what
that
else
one
can
up.
you do with the cowbell? I am, by the way, from the Sonar dashboard where we have the social media kind of news feed, I'm literally sending and retweeting an update on Dorian as we speak.
Wow.
Talk about your multimedia.
It's there.
We're
Right.
very proud of you, Chad. Thanks for joining us, Daniel.
I'm
guys.
proud of Sonar, and great to have you on, Pickett.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. You too. All right.
Thank you, sir. I think I did see JP walk by. He's standing right next to your giant growler, Mr. JP.
Better late
Come
than
on.
never.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
5, count of 5. 5 good minutes.
JP. Boom. What's up, bro?
What's going on?
What am I doing? I almost knocked my own mic over.
Yeah,
got so excited.
knocking everything over.
So I thought you stood us up, and then you materialized here. The reason you're here is we're kind of wrapping up, I guess, unless something major happens, we're kind of wrapping up our Hurricane Dorian coverage, right? It's a very slow-moving storm.
Yeah. Wow. Been talking about it for a while.
I didn't see a single spaghetti stream that just showed like a big circle around the Bahamas,
it's
like
like-
hanging out for.
Stop here.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like it's so weird, and now
It's
it's
actually
dissipating.
bad for the Bahamas.
Oh,
yeah.
Imagine
Sounds-
being
yeah.
subjected to 185 mile an hour winds for like 36 hours straight.
That would be frightening, and with all the floodwaters
Did
and everything too.
any of the modeling predict that, I wonder?
Like the spaghetti models?
Like-
No, there was that one weird one that like was going to circle around like lower Florida. Remember that?
Yeah,
Like, the rogue
it
one?
was gonna jump over
Yeah.
Florida, go into the Gulf of Mexico, then come back. Or
Yeah.
something.
I didn't see any of them just saying, you know what? It's just going to take its time over the Bahamas.
Well, it kind of looked like what it did over the Bahamas, except it was going to go over Florida and then just like screw off with a sharp like northeasterly turn. But so you did write an article though about some of the disruptions that did occur with some of the real-time data in sonar. So what kind of insights can we glean from that if things return to normal?
Yeah. I mean, some of the interesting stuff is that with all of the staging, there's still a lot of like trailers and tractors that are kind of stuck down in markets like Tifton, Tallahassee, Montgomery, Alabama, the Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery, as you guys know. The storm is taking its time up the coast, still expected to impact the port of Savannah, which is closed and should be opening at some point tomorrow. They don't know when Charleston will reopen because the storm could get pretty close there. It could be some damage, so it's closed
It's about to make landfall, right?
or close to it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it's actually going to make landfall.
It may not even
the
make
bands of it,
landfall.
right? The
Yeah.
hurricane band. Well, I mean, all landfall really means is the eye of the hurricane has to touch the land. It has to come on
Right.
shore. So you could have like right up to that point where actually the ring right around the eye is where some of the harshest winds are. So it
The
could
eye
ride the
wall.
coastline. Yeah, the eye wall. And that could cause quite a bit of storm surge and damage. I actually saw a guy in the news. He was standing on a jetty and, doing like the touristy thing, like, oh, look at these big waves. And he got like washed right off into the water.
Whoa.
I hope he's okay.
And then his wife is yelling at him, or his girlfriend. She's like, can you get my flip-flop? He's like just barreling out to sea.
She wasn't too worried,
Yeah.
apparently. She's seen this before.
He came back swimming like the end of Jaws, though. He was like holding
okay.
on to the flip-flop as
Oh,
like
nice.
a kickboard.
So what are some of the distortions that you were talking about that happened in the freight market so far, even as this, as this materializes, but it hasn't actually made landfall, but it still had some effects?
Yeah, so a lot of essentially it's kind of the same story that we've been hearing. A lot of volumes going into certain markets in the Southeast, a lot of tender rejections going in, meaning people don't necessarily want to drive into the path of a Cat 4, 3, whatever hurricane.
Yeah.
And
I don't see why.
And prices coming out a little bit cheaper. That's kind of.
And those are anticipated.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's out of the ordinary. It's counter seasonal in a way, but it's all sort of like logical stuff that you would expect. I mean, we've been covering storms at FreightWaves for 2 years now. This is our third hurricane season, right? So we've seen.
What do you mean by counter seasonal? Because it is hurricane season.
Oh, I just meant like according to the normal rhythms of like produce and stuff in the Southeast, you wouldn't expect these kinds of volumes to be originating in southeastern markets. But yeah, that's what we've seen so far. Unless there is a lot of damage, it's not going to affect lanes outside of like kind of the East Coast.
Nice.
But if it does, if Savannah or if Charleston gets damaged, it's the fourth largest container port on the East Coast. That could have an effect. That could reroute volumes. If there is a disaster inland that requires a lot of supplies and a lot of staging, then that could soak up capacity. Potentially
the rivalry continues.
Potentially from other markets.
The rivalry continues. So leave us with something exclusive. Leave us with the biggest breaking story you got in your head right now.
Actually, I did learn something very interesting, but I can't say.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
all right.
I'll tell you guys after
a
this.
teaser of nothing.
All right.
Involves,
Okay. Well, hey, thanks for
thanks for joining
that.
us. And thanks for showing up late. We always appreciate
Okay.
that. So I think it's where you're guests. There's like a big lineup now. It's all good though. Thank you, JP.
All
Don't
right,
take the headphones
Thanks,
with you though.
JP.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir.
It's a storm full of sound and fury, signifying.
Now we need to invite
nothing.
Alex in. We got to talk about some of these forest fires in the Amazon. I feel like we're back in like the 1980s when Cobra Kai ran strong, and we're talking about acid rain and ozone layers and the rainforest. Remember, I remember as a kid in elementary school, they'd be like, "We're losing X amount of acres of rainforest every second."
Welcome to the show, Alex.
Yeah.
Great to have you on.
Yeah.
She puts on the headphones.
It's just in time to lose her hearing.
So we are we're focusing here with
on the butterfly effect. In this case, the butterfly is the trade war, and the effect is the burning rainforest from soybeans. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so we United States and Brazil both are very large producers of soybeans. I mean, they are both competing for the top, and they have been for like the last few years.
And then we've got all the tariff stuff going on. So what's going on?
Yeah. So, with those tariffs, China does not want to trade with us, and so they're trying to avoid it.
Yeah.
And with that means that China is looking for other options.
Yeah.
They want nothing to do with all the tariffs and everything. So their way of retaliating is taking away from ag products in the United States.
Yeah.
And finding other options. So the second best option and what will likely become the next best option is Brazil.
So
what are some of the actions that Brazil is taking?
How does this lead to a forest fire?
Their soybean supply.
Yeah, so Brazil really they have the comparative advantage, just in available land that they can use.
Yeah,
and by doing so, they have to.
It's called the rainforest.
Yes.
Yeah, the rainforest.
The Amazon rainforest. There's a lot of space.
A burning rainforest is almost like an oxymoronic too, right? Like the rainforest. It's a rainforest.
Yeah, don't burn it, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, shouldn't it just put itself out? Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, it's dry season, so it can't even do that.
Yeah, there's like a dry and a rainy. They don't have 4 months, like 4 seasons.
How many soybeans are we talking about? Is this a huge shift, like for United States? Because not only does the rainforest got to hurt, American farmers have to be hurting too, right? Because China seems like a huge partner.
Yeah.
And if this is enough to like Chad, when you want to plant a garden or something and you run out of space, do you start setting like the woods abutting your neighbor's property on fire.
Here's the I haven't run into that situation yet, but I mean, I think that isn't it something like they're clearing lots of space there, and the lots of livestock are like they're not a very efficient use of the land, and they're stripping the land, and it's I don't
blame
know.
the livestock.
I don't know. All
You're such a victim blamer.
A victim blamer. I'm blaming those cows.
Yeah. They do produce a lot of methane.
How does it all like work together? There's some things going on that's.
Yeah. So basically in Brazil, the policies there have been reduced, and like the police that would police like the Amazon rainforest and preventing all the policy changes or like the people just acquiring more land.
Yeah.
They're being defunded, so they can't even fight this because they're being reduced. And
there's
so
a policy thing.
So it kind of cuts back at anybody being able to enforce any rules that would be preventing people from taking more land. And so you see more action in the farmers where they can just get away with taking more land and taking bits and pieces as they go. And once that land is burned, it can't be replenished. Going back to what it was before just can't happen. So once it's burned, it's done.
Like it screws up the nitrogen levels and like the pH balance of the actual soil, right?
Yeah.
Like do you remember when you were in school? Like I remember like back in like classes in the 80s, they would always talk about like X amount of acres, like 100 acres of rainforest are burning like every minute, and it seemed like the rainforest wouldn't even exist by the time we got to 2019 from the lessons we were learning, and it's just weird to hear like. I don't know.
Still burning?
I don't know. Isn't that how farmers have always done it out there? They've always sort of burned.
But it is
land.
disturbing. It's supposed to be the green lung of our air.
Yeah.
Constitute something 20% of the carbon I don't know all the stats, but and now it's kind of turning it into a black lung.
Yeah. So I mean, with the Amazon rainforest, there's a lot of efforts in the mid 2000s into the early 2010s. And that was kind of an effort that was made to reforest it, to kind of bring it back, to really end a lot of those policies that allow farmers and a lot of other industries to take over and deforest.
Yeah.
So there was a slowdown. But then, again, this last year, there's just been a huge ramp up.
Okay.
Wow. Terrible stuff. So has anything advanced since you've written the story? Is it getting worse? Are they getting a handle on these forest fires? Does it seem like it's going to get worse before it gets better?
So it looked like there's a lot of spread into other countries. Bolivia was really impacted by it, and the United States.
How do they feel about that?
Not happy.
Yeah.
The United States sent a lot of aid to them. They sent, like the 747 tankers, the super tankers that come and extinguish those fires. And so Bolivia was very excited to get all that help. Whereas there was the initial rejection of any aid from any other country into Brazil to kind of come in and fight those fires. And since then, that sort of stepped back, and they started the president of Brazil just seemed to really step in and be like, okay, you know what, fine, we'll take the money, we'll take it, but we're going to allocate what happens too.
That's such a weird, isn't that such a weird political situation? It would be like if you owned a store, right? And then you get in a fight with one of your customers. And he's like, I am not going to buy trinkets from you anymore. I'm not going to buy corn from you anymore. I'm going to go buy it from the other guy. And then the other guy's like, because of the demand, he's got to start setting like things on fire in town. And then you're like, I guess I got to help him now and put those. That's a weird political situation.
Kind of weird. And thanks for covering it and letting us know what is going on.
Mm-hmm. And since you're a first timer,
Alex,
you gotta bang it.
How do you pronounce your last name?
Cuvedo.
Hey, it's great to have you on. What do you do now for here at FreightWaves?
Well, now I'm the sustainability market expert.
Well, nice. Great to have you on.
Yes.
Boom. Nice. That was kind
Solid.
It's kind of like a wake up call.
Yeah.
Wake up.
Hello.
Put out those forest fires.
Sustainability.
Hello. Yeah.
All right. Great to have you on. Thank you,
Thank
Alex.
you for joining us. I think we got to find out what's on the radar in sonar with our boy.
And who better to do it?
Kyle Cunningham. This guy over here, he joined me down in Dallas. We saw a lot of those e-scooters over there.
Yeah. Did you guys ride a few?
Absolutely, I did. On the radar, presented by Sonar.
How fast do you think those things go?
I can tell you they go about 17 downhill. I'm telling
downhill.
He was sick as a dog, and he took one for a ride down to a CVS, and he came back, and he was very proud of himself.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Well, me and Brad Ganane and T-Bro and actually Patrick Duffy, we had a scooter gang going on in Denver. And those things are so dangerous because
why?
You're going down the hill. I mean, we were topping out at like 22.
Wow.
Which is really fast for no helmet.
Yeah.
And, dude, we're going down this hill. And first off, there's the less fortunate of the world that have chosen to make the sidewalk their bed. So you got to, like, dodge, the homeless folks in the road.
Wow.
And then we were going down this hill, and there's this just metal pole sticking out of the concrete. If you would have hit that thing, it would have been
it'd be like a serious
hospital.
skiing accident.
It would be real bad. They're really dangerous. They're a public health hazard.
Yeah.
Friends don't let friends ride scooters.
Yeah. All right, so tell us, man, what's going on in Sonar? We just had JP in.
Big times.
He was talking to us about some of the effects or non-effects of Dorian on a storm that you actually went out to Florida to cover, and the storm was taking so long you had to come all the way back.
Yeah, it was great. It was like a Twilight Zone episode. I was like trying to find a storm.
Yeah.
I was I went down
weird.
to Tallahassee.
Like, come to me.
Yeah, I went down to Tallahassee and I was hoping to speak with like the governor, the big time folks. We ended up going to the pilot Flying J, and all the truckers were basically like, "Man, I'm just doing my normal job here.
Yeah.
Nothing really interesting to say to go live with. I mean, trying to force a storm that's not happening." Ended up talking to Ken Armstrong, great guy from Florida Trucking Association.
Yeah.
He gave us a really good perspective on how to stay prepared, how to understand these things that happen, whatnot. But in terms of Sonar, man, outbound tender volume, anybody who's inside of Sonar saw, with these holidays, it's no scary thing when the volume drops 200 points.
Yeah.
On Labor Day weekend.
Yeah. Nothing huge. It doesn't form a huge gap like the 4-day weekend.
Let me slow you down just for a second, though. Just for the audience who's not familiar with how something like Sonar functions.
Absolutely.
What does 200 points represent?
No, that's a great question. So outbound tender volume.
Yeah.
The index value from March 1st, 2018 was set at 10,000. And the reason being is that 10,000 is a good base point.
Yeah.
March 1st, 2018 was a good point as well because that was a pretty hot freight market. It was right before all pumped up.
Yeah.
So it gives you a benchmark to say, all right, from 10,000, the base point where it's at today is going to give you a relative percentage change from that day of the inception. So pre-Labor Day, you're seeing 10,320, 10,400. So those points above are going to basically tell you it's if it's 10,320, that's 3.2% higher than March 1st, 2018. So it makes it easy. Why 10,000? That was the number they came up with.
Yeah.
Having that.
Why March 1st?
Well, Sonar was actually launched. I don't know the exact launch date off the top of my head. I think it's around 1st of June of 2018. So it was
it was
basically
May during Transparency 18.
Yeah, so before my time at FreightWaves.
But they did establish it in March?
Established it in March because to give the data some validity and weight.
You got to create a lake, right?
Exactly.
Because if you just start right when you launch it, it's going like the numbers will just be like massive.
Yeah, it would just be.
They had to have something to build on as they were building it before they released it.
Exactly.
I get it. Okay.
So where it's at now, being able to see your outbound tender volume, and keep in mind this measures so much. The data partners inside of Sonar, they're so valuable and they're so diligent in their reporting that it is a clear composite picture of what's happening in the freight markets. And these big drops that you see, like I said, they're nothing to get scared about. It's not like a sell-off in the stock market. It's the fact that Monday and Sunday, it's Labor Day. No one's doing anything. So watching it over this next week, seeing it hop up, back up, we can see it hop back up to 10,000 plus, then we're doing good. All in all, still feeling pretty good. In terms of actual markets, I was looking today at market shares, seeing what's shifting around. So the market share, think about a big pie.
Yeah.
Each individual market's going to be a slice of pie.
You're making me hungry.
Exactly. Apple, peach, cherry, whatever you need.
Hey, Lakeland. So
Lakeland,
Florida.
yeah.
So because I'm looking at one of the notes you put on here, and you said that rejects are up 23%. Is that a variable because is that again because of the weather? Some of these companies might have like FEMA contracts or something, or is it just due to closures? What exactly is going on? And why is Lakeland such a big deal anyway? Why is that the staging point?
So it's a big deal in terms of Lakeland kind of heating up. Here's the thing with the rejections. What I like to do when I look at the concept of rejections, you can have, like I saw today, Billings, Montana. It's like a 220% increase in rejections. Well, if you go from 1.1 to 1.6. That's a huge deal. So I always like to look for these larger markets like Joplin, Missouri.
Okay.
And then Lakeland, it's still floating around that under 10%. So it's still a broker shipper market. But with those rejects coming up, basically implying that inbound capacity that normally would have been coming into Lakeland probably turned down, as folks saying, I ain't going down there for the storm. Miami, the same story, 17% up. Once you get in those markets, you'd be hard-pressed to find outside of holiday periods anything above 10% favoring carriers. But it's always good to know, hey, I might be in not the greatest position, but is it a better bad position than I was in yesterday? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was going to say, Chad, are you familiar? You're a baseball fan, right? Big Braves fan?
Yeah.
And we might even go to that Houston Astros game, check them out versus the Rangers. But are you familiar with the Mendoza line is?
Yes.
It's right, like the bare minimum you can hit as a batter.
200
Yeah.
is the batting average. I think there was a catcher named something. His last name was Mendoza.
So are like the Joplins of the world, the Lakelands of the world, the Miamis of the world, because these are kind of conditional. Lakeland's a bit
Joplin's
conditional.
different than Lakeland and Miami.
I know, but Lakeland right now is kind of being used as a Mendoza line of sorters, as a testing because of the storm.
Well, and a lot of this stuff, too, if you look on a head haul map and you look at Florida pretty much consistently on the daily, now the weekly or the two weekly or the monthly head haul map as well, that's going to show you when these markets are heating up. Actually, on the weekly, Miami and Lakeland, we're doing a little better in terms of outbound freight from this point today versus last week, so that's good to know. But, yeah, in terms of a Mendoza line, Joplin, Missouri is just generally a good place to be a carrier and having capacity nearby. Now, the one thing, and I was telling everybody at McLeod this, what Sonar gives you the ability to do is say, how valuable is my capacity today if you're in the carrier side? And then if you're the one holding the freight, how valuable is my freight to these carriers? How desperate are they in need of my freight? And what the answer is today is most likely not going to be the answer tomorrow. And we saw that today, Spokane, Washington, and then Iowa. Yesterday on the FreightWaves Now, I was talking Iowa, these huge increases in intra-Iowa rejections, 16, 17%, really favorable to carriers. You come in this morning, it's all done. The party's over.
And if we're not mistaken, you reminded me today's Wednesday, right?
Today is Wednesday.
So that means you will probably be going live with the night shift
night
maybe
shift
tonight?
We're going to have Dean Croak, and proud to say this show is going to be sponsored by the great folks at XPO Logistics. So we're showcasing the Drive by XPO app.
Yes,
and,
fantastic.
Definitely tune in. If you're a small carrier and you're watching it, we're going to be going live on all platforms tonight at 7 p.m. Cool. And we're going to run through these trends in a little bit of deeper detail. Got the perspective of the genius of Dean Croak from Down Under.
Ooh, that'll be fun. That'll be
I'm really excited. Today's going to be a good one. My goal, just as I'm sure your goal is with these shows, get better every time.
And if you're, I know, I wish that would always happen, but
we will do better.
But here's the good news. Yeah, and for listeners, here's the good news. If you're already subscribed to this, you got a notification. You're on the LinkedIn, the YouTubes of the world, the Facebooks of the world.
Yes.
You're already signed up to get the notification when our friend Kyle goes
It's going to be awesome. So it's me, it's Dean Croak, it's T-Bro, and it's Reed Clements. Pretty good powerhouse of a team. One last thing, talking about radar, talking about what's going on. Montgomery inbound rejections. We talk all the time about outbound rejections. Inbound rejections can be kind of that kid standing in the corner everyone forgets to talk to.
Yeah.
Inbound rejections, 11.6% into Montgomery, and they're staging those trailers out at Maxwell Air Base in Montgomery. So in terms of the inbound, the concept of, hey, I don't want to go into Montgomery because I'm going to be sitting, or, hey, pay me more to go into Montgomery. So don't forget your inbound. Take your outbound into consideration. And then we're going to, over the next few months, I'm going to start developing a little more in regards to the philosophy of Sonar and the user experience in terms of how do you take this data? First, you understand it. Once you understand it, then you're able to mold it into your own abilities and find those advantages, the reason the platform was created.
All right. I'm Nick Friend, my friend and yours,
he's
chomping at the bit to get in here.
Yeah, let's get him in here.
Yeah.
Good to see y'all.
Enjoy
the show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Night shift, 7
Thanks,
p.m.
Kyle.
We'll see y'all later.
Fantastic.
Take the deeper dive tonight on the night shift with
Good
Kyle.
analysis.
Thank you, sir. Now it's time. This is not Emily's Inc. Is that a big deal or a little deal that Nick Friend...
Hey, guys.
Big deal.
Big deal.
Hey, everybody.
Big deal.
Little deal.
Ooh, let's get a little reggaeton in here.
Little reggaeton.
Reggaeton. So you work for Emily's Inc., right? You're on the FreightWaves team?
Yes. Yeah, I'm part of the video team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you
friend?
do? What did you do before you joined us? Because you have a very interesting story. I think you used to gleam the cube on rollerblades.
For a considerable amount of time. And actually, that was my foray into working in video.
Yeah, because you got so injured.
I got so injured that my only capacity to contribute to the cause was to film people, other people doing what I wanted to do. And then next thing I know, I started making documentaries, started working on television, started working on movies, and then just freelancing my life away.
Were you making those
your
old,
life is a rockumentary.
If you follow skating and stuff, a lot of like the street videos that used to be made back in the day were like those VHS tape trading things that were like part punk rock, part like novice graphics users. Like they would always sort of have like that 90s industrial kind of like effects going on.
Yeah, well, the word you're looking for is bad.
Bad.
Yeah, really, really terrible graphics.
Oh, I thought you were going to say rad. Like bad as in good.
They were awful, but they were very well intended.
Yeah, they were. Well, it was a style and it was a look, right?
Absolutely. And it was just this gritty, don't give a damn about what I'm doing type of graphic, type of filmmaking. And I gravitated very much towards like the lifestyle aspect of it all. And then I thought it was an interesting piece of content, so I started making more and more in-depth stuff. Next thing you know, I was working on movies like Planet of the Apes and Terminator Genesis.
Oh, wow. Were you really?
Yeah.
What'd you do on Terminator Genesis?
I day played with the camera department. I was a camera production assistant.
All right.
And I was there for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we flipped an 18-wheeler.
That was enough time to fix that movie.
Yeah. It was an unmitigated failure.
So you got to see. So I was watching the special features on The Dark Knight. I don't know if you're like a nerd like me, Chad. And streaming has kind of like ruined like that market of the special features on videos. But I still buy a lot of movies.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
special features is what
I love them.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah, especially when like I hate when they only give you like a 5-minute one, but when they give you like the hour behind the scenes of like the making of The Dark Knight, and you get to see what's actually practical and what's digital. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's great to see legitimate BTS footage. Has always been like it. That's like when you take 2 Oreos and you stuff the stuffing together, it's like that extra bit of good.
It's almost like too much goodness, though.
But no such thing.
We got to do a Freight All Kinds on that, on movie sets and some of these instruction things.
Yeah.
I mean, because we could talk all day right now about this kind of stuff. But let's get to the big deal. Little deal, you are filling in for the lovely Emily Zink. This is your first appearance on What the Truck, and we're really looking forward to it. So
I'm happy. My mother always told me I had a face for radio. So
nice. Well, you're actually on video now. You're on video now. The stream is bigger than the audio portion now. So we got that going for us.
Well, then I'm very sorry.
Yeah. All right. You ready to go? Fire away.
All right. Cross-border cargo insurance is a great challenge for North American competitiveness. Is this a big deal or is it a little deal? Craig, uninsured Prevost, what do you think?
This is like the 5th time someone's called you Craig instead of Chad.
Oh, no.
Well,
I'm sorry. Good night, everybody.
No, I spent like 15 minutes in Denver. And I blame like the oxygen level, but wasn't I calling you Craig? Like,
how many times have I called you Craig just today?
Just once, guys. It's okay.
Well, so you didn't hear the other 3 times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Chad, uninsured.
Chad, uninsurable Prevost. What do you think?
Uninsurable as well. Cross border, it's a little deal.
I butchered that.
That's all right.
It's that's all I have to say. It's a little deal.
No big deal.
No,
just a little deal.
No, I can barely even remember what it is.
You know what? No one's crazy to me.
Like
so
3 times.
Cargo insurance is cheap. You know, like on $100,000 load, it's like $150. So for like 100, it's like 15.
Yeah,
it's super cheap. But it's amazing how many companies just forego it. So that's kind of the big deal, especially in ocean where there's things like. I mean, this is talking more about cross-border and trucks, but like the insurance is basically the same rates as ocean stuff. And in ocean, when a ship sinks or there's damage to it, there's a thing called general average, and everybody on the ship has to pay a portion. And like every time I'm selling freight, they would always think it was like some sort of scam. And I'm like, you don't want to put $150 on your $100,000 load to insure? Like, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. So it's a big deal in the sense that people should probably take insurance just a little bit more seriously because it can be drastically beneficial.
It's a small price to pay for a really big benefit, is the theory.
Peace of mind, right?
But people just don't bother.
Like peace of mind.
To me, that kind of sounds like a big deal.
When I was a kid, I used to think peace
guess
of mind was like a
Dooner
slice
wins
of
that
mind.
one.
Yeah.
I give that a big deal. That's a Dooner.
All right.
That's the Dooner point.
I like that. He's refereeing, too.
Yeah.
Emily doesn't do that. She just moves on to the next one.
I have been known for, unfortunately, taking sides.
Okay. I enjoy this.
Hurricane Dorian still on track to damage the southeast coast. Dooner, you batten down the hatches, or is this a storm, a big hunt?
A bug hunt. You ever see Aliens? That's what Vasquez calls when they were looking for the aliens. They can't find any.
I just
and
want
she
to point
calls it
out,
a bug hunt.
guys, I really need to learn to read better.
That's all right.
It's okay.
That's
It's a good thing I'm a visual person.
It's a small device.
Yeah, we'll get it phonetically for you. So a bug hunt is in Aliens with Vasquez. When they land on the planet, they're looking for all of the aliens, right? And she calls it a bug hunt because they don't find any. But eventually they did, right? They actually found way more than the first movie.
Right.
That's why it's plural. Aliens. So are we going to find a bunch of hurricanes? I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm going to say right now
Are there more hurricanes on the way that are going to
I mean, you know what? I'm
Dorian.
glad that Dorian hasn't been a bigger deal. And it's terrible what happened to the Bahamas, and it's terrible that it stayed over there, and 7 people so far have died from that storm. Fortunately, it seems like it's riding the coast a little bit further out, and it's not causing terrible amounts of damage. So
it's kind of skirting the entire East Coast. It's not necessarily. I haven't checked the update in about an hour or so. But it's just kind of skirting.
So what's your final answer?
I hope it's a bug hunt. I hope it stays that way.
Okay.
You hope so. You hope that
that's
it's
really
a
a
little
non-answer.
deal.
So you already lose.
Think by default because you didn't
You're
say it.
Hoping it's a
Chad
little deal.
gets the point.
I mean, it's been a big
Doesn't
deal.
even have to answer. It's already his point.
Here's the big deal about it. We've been talking about it for about 5 days. It's disrupted and distorted some supply chains, and I think it is wreaking some havoc along the East Coast.
Yeah.
Although I admit I don't know exactly where yet. It doesn't have to hit landfall for it to be bad.
There's expectations of a lot of impact hitting the South Carolina market.
Yeah, it looks on target. Hopefully it just veers off. I mean, it keeps downgrading too. Like Category 2, maybe the Category 1, and then Category none. Right.
Let's hope.
Let's hope.
Yeah. Well, it goes down to tropical storm. Tropical depression.
Nice. That sounds nice.
The
Like,
four
put a little
higher
pineapple in it. And umbrella.
No, I don't think that's exactly how it goes.
Okay.
The for-hire trucking market does not have a driver shortage problem. Chad, is that a truth you're going to hire or fire?
Put me on the spot. I'm going to say it is a little deal.
Yeah.
It is. There is not a gigantic driver shortage. There is a ton of capacity, if anything.
So you're going to hire that?
Yeah.
So
I'm
he
gonna,
doesn't. Yeah. So
I'm saying it's a little deal, which is the game we're playing.
It's a little deal. Yes, but the way it's worded, you're wrong. So he's already lost. But I will answer anyway.
I think that's the trend that we've developed at this point.
Just we're gasoline.
It's inherently biased towards the writer.
No, our Craig Fuller, CEO here, Craig Fuller, CEO of the company, he wrote a great article about this, and he refutes some of the statements that lobbies have made about the market in terms of saying that there's a driver shortage problem. Where he talks about there being too many drivers seated in trucks right now. Too many companies went out and they're over people capacitated at the moment. And a lot of times the things driver shortages talking about are really market problems where companies have problems hiring drivers themselves, but the greater economy of trucking doesn't. So, I mean, I would agree, and the rates tell the story. If there was a driver shortage, rates wouldn't be as depressed as they are. Right? Yeah. Give me a thumbs up if you agree.
Hire or fire then? What?
Hire. I already said. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'm calling that a draw.
Oh. All right. Let's move on.
But you did a lot of nice mansplaining.
Because I'm completely biased.
All right. Yes.
Roughly 640 carriers went out of business in the first half of 2019.
Whoa.
That's 465 more failed carriers than at the same time last year. Dooner, big deal, little deal.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big deal. It's a lot of carriers, right? I mean, that's, I don't know. That means there was only like 100 and some odd that went out of business at this point last year. A lot of these are smaller ones. The major ones that represented about 3,000 trucking jobs was about 10, right? And that extends from New England Motor Freight at the beginning of the year all the way up to Ready Trucking at the end of August. Yeah, it's a pretty big deal because the repercussions of people getting over-optimistic about the market from 2018 are starting to carry over. They ordered too many trucks. They hired too many people. They extended that driver pay and a lot of those things. It's not working out in an economy like this year.
I'm going to say obviously from a personal human, if we're looking at every job matters, it's a big deal to the families and people in communities who are affected from this. Macro lens is that it is a little deal because it's not nearly we're covering it better than ever. Mm-hmm. So it seems the lens through which we're filtering it may make it seem like it's a bigger deal. And it comes in a time, I would also add, that there was back-to-back at the beginning of 2019 slow markets that led us to defining the beginning of this year as a freight recession. Nevertheless, I'm not sure. Was that for the freight recession?
That was for your answer. Because
you're just bummed because
you're saying that coverage has increased and that's extending the problem. But clearly, there's been way more carriers going out of business.
There's been many bigger years of failures than 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's worse failures than you.
I'm sure there are.
Okay.
But
But there's also that underlying aspect of like less businesses means better competition for the existing ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a double-edged sword. You can look at it positively on either side.
Although, like in trucking, it's a little bit different because a lot of these, so there's 10 majors, and that means that there's 630 minor ones that are less than 10 trucks. I mean, a lot of those are just companies that reform again as owner-operators going to pull freight. I mean, freight's kind of a strange market.
Mm-hmm. On to the next one. An attempt to smuggle 53 pounds of meth results in the arrest at an Arizona port of entry. The drugs had a street value of $50,000. Chad, is this a Breaking Bad deal?
I'm going to say little deal. It's just a drop in the pond.
Is this Breaking Bad or is it Malcolm in the Middle?
Yeah, Malcolm in the Middle.
I think we're going to call it Malcolm in the Middle.
Far away from home or friends. I mean, 53 pounds of meth is only $50,000. That's I'm a little shocked by that. How much does a pound of meth cost? I guess that
Why do you look at me like I instantly know that answer?
What is it? $53,000. It's a little less than $1,000 for a pound of meth.
Yeah,
that seems pretty cheap.
That seems inexpensive. I don't know anything about any sort of meth.
Like the street value of meth?
No, nothing.
Yeah. Is it a big deal? I mean, I guess it's a big deal in the sense that it's more meth being influx. Because I mean, whenever you find, whenever there's a rat, right, in the restaurant, there's probably a colony of them. So when you find this, it's just indicative of all that really means is there's a lot more meth flowing through that you're not.
You think it's just the tip of the iceberg?
The tip of the meth crystal, yeah.
You think it's one of many that should have been caught but didn't get caught? Is what you're saying?
I'm still hung up on the street value of meth because usually they really inflate these things. It just seems really cheap to me. I don't know. I don't know the economics of meth though.
Neither do I. Maybe you need to bring in a market expert.
Yeah, you could get an entire pound of meth for $1,000.
Wow.
Yeah, that seems.
And there's 16 ounces
in
a pound, right?
They're making a big deal about whether I can get my Sudafed more than once a month.
That's less than $100 an ounce.
If I want Benadryl, I have to go through a lot of hoops. But these people are bringing in pounds of meth.
I know. 53. Yeah. That's like a big backpack of meth. And how dense is the weight of meth? Like how much? Because that if that was like marijuana, for example, marijuana is really puffy and popcorny and stuff. Like that would be a lot of.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, you would need a wagon at least.
Get a red flyer.
Yeah. I don't know how much. What does a pound of meth look like?
Chad,
powdery and white. I don't
think that's.
No, that's cocaine.
Yeah,
but don't they make
that's a snow
isn't
day.
it in a powder as well?
No, I think it's already in
crystallized form.
Crystal form. Yeah. I don't know. We'll have to look into that.
And I'm upset that neither of you got my Bryan Cranston reference.
What was it?
Breaking Bad versus Malcolm in the Middle.
Oh,
come on!
Oh,
he did both.
Okay,
he
was also in
both.
Godzilla.
You know what? That's right.
Yeah, but let's not bring that up.
All right.
Yeah, he was fantastic. Breaking Bad, probably my favorite series of all time.
Yeah. Well, you and Anthony Hopkins have the same opinion. Anthony Hopkins wrote an open letter to Vince Gilligan, the creator of that show, saying that was not only the best television show that he'd ever seen, but one of the best pieces of content he had ever seen on any screen.
Wow.
Wow. Me and Anthony Hopkins.
You and Tony Hopkins share a remarkably similar opinion.
All right. Question 6.
According to a recent study, 40% of people injured riding e-scooters, it's like Bird and Lyft has this,
a good bit today,
had alcohol levels above the legal limit, and THC and methamphetamine, here we are again, were next highest in concentration. Is this deal dockless, Mr. Dooner?
Well, so as I mentioned, I was in 2 cities in a row that have this scooter epidemic going on. And when I looked at people riding them, I'm like, half these people look like they're on drugs. So, it's no surprise to me that a lot of people are getting injured. Because, when you take a lot of, you're really drunk or something, you might look at a scooter. If you're sober, you're going to be like, yeah, it looks like fun, but I don't have time for it.
When you're sober, the scooter looks like fun. When you're drunk,
the scooter's a ride.
Let's
you're
do
on
this.
You're on it.
The
only thing stopping you is downloading the app and your Wi-Fi connection.
I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I know how to do that.
I mean, I think the helmet thing's a big thing, and we were kind of touching on insurance.
Is that an obligation? Do you have to wear a helmet to ride one of these scooters?
98% of the people injured are not wearing helmets, and they don't come with helmets or anything.
They don't. Yeah, exactly. They don't come with them. The whole thing is like on the spot rental. So unless you're not going to have it.
It seems pretty lawless. It's like the business.
There's also a lot of people going around just before Dorian was heading towards the Florida Panhandle. There was a lot of companies that were hiring people with trucks to go pick up all these scooters from all over the place because they were flying all over the city.
Yeah.
And so there were truckloads of people grabbing all these scooters and bringing them to safe places.
Well, what do you think, Chad?
Well, have you said?
You haven't said if it's a big deal.
Is it a big deal that people are on? It's not a big deal. It doesn't surprise me. I believe that people are on. Like, they might, now that meth got confiscated in Arizona, they might have a harder time.
Well, suddenly we're going to have much better scooters.
I guess so.
Less accidents.
Less scooter riders.
At least in Arizona.
Yeah.
I guess I will stick with my little deal. I think it's a bit of a little deal. The thing about the scooter thing overall is I want to like it because I like the idea of the freedom of just saying, of the permission, just, yes, you can do this. Here's a lot of money. Here's scooters. I love the spirit behind that idea. It's the opposite of so many other things that we tried to do. Nevertheless, it is rife with problems, isn't it? So it's fun to beat up on and make it. But yes, this is just yet another level of just it's more piling on of the piles of scooters that are littering many cities.
Quite right. I very much agree with that.
All right, number 7.
A Chattanooga man, Craig Barr, has sued a local Popeyes chain for running out of a popular chicken sandwich. Is this a value meal miscarriage or a justice deal?
This
hot button issues here, man.
Hot button issues.
This is a value meal, right? I just feel sorry for people who are so desperate that they need to, create lawsuits and wave guns at people for not being able to have a Popeyes chicken sandwich. But no doubt they must be good. And I am going to run to the nearest store after this and find one and get one.
Well, there's not onions on that sandwich, but this read like an onion article because
it did.
Well, this guy. Did you read the article about this guy?
I didn't. I skimmed it.
So what happened is
I read the title.
I saw it. Yeah.
So what he's claiming in his article is that he rode all the way around like Chattanooga in his car to all the Popeyes and destroyed his car somehow. So I don't know if he's like driving up the curves, riding off of them, just storming off into traffic, damaging his car. He also got swindled on Craigslist out of $25 by someone. Like, I don't know who buys fast food off Craigslist. Not me, but this guy, Craig.
Oh, you
Barr.
don't?
Desperate.
Have you not tried?
Well, this guy seems so stupid that he probably thinks that there's a website for everybody's name, like a list. Like, there's a Chad's list, and like Chad has to go buy things.
His name is Craig.
And Craig has to go buy off Craigslist. But what also happened is he's suing in there for emotional distress because all of his friends made fun of him for this saga with the chicken sandwich. But in the Streisand effect of it all, he decided to then go and sue and make this an even bigger story to get made fun of by not just his friends, but What the Truck and the United States of America.
Did he think that the largely based opinion on what a human being does to sue for not having a... Did he think that, like,
I don't know.
He got more people's attention, the opinion on him would change?
I don't know. This seems like a viral marketing campaign gone awry.
Yes, much like those e-scooters.
Yeah.
He essentially just sued for just to make fun of himself.
And I think
what he ended up doing.
That's a good analysis right there. Yeah.
Well, Mr. Nick.
Well, that's about it we got
Thank
for...
you. Wow.
Big deal, little deal.
Epic. Big deal, little deal.
Oh, here you go. Hit this before it goes. It's your first time. You have to as a first-timer. Ooh, thank you, sir. All right.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank
Off with your
you,
head.
Nick Friend, ladies and gentlemen.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay.
Once upon a time...
Go home.
He's actually going to be right behind us, actually.
Yeah.
Right back at the computer base.
I got you back.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thanks, Nick. Well, Chad, what is it? It's Wednesday again. I'm so confused. So we're going to have a show on Friday. We'll be back at 3:30
Wednesday.
On Friday. You can find this show on podcast players everywhere, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, everywhere podcasts are heard around the world. Follow him at
Chad Prevost.
Follow me at Timothy Dooner. That's TimothyDooner. Chad's got a brand new show. It's called Off the Supply Chain. It's on FreightWaves' YouTube channel now, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, it's everywhere that you can find YouTube.
And because
videos.
it's off the supply chain, your episodes, they don't just come out, they drop.
We dropped them.
You dropped it. So what are the one that you just dropped? What's that about?
We did Trade Wars. War, what is it good for? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, nothing apparently is
like the
some
Bloods
say.
and the Crips of trade.
And transparency in the supply chain coming out this week as well.
What is the release date on these? Is there a set cadence yet, or are we still getting to that?
We're aiming for Thursday.
We're aiming for Thursdays. Nice. So
yes.
Well, tomorrow then.
Yes.
So that will be out tomorrow.
I don't want to put any pressure on the production crew.
Okay, so that'll maybe be out tomorrow.
Yes, that's the idea. We're a merry band.
If you go to YouTube today, you can actually see a professionally produced version of our two shows in Denver on the FreightWaves channel. So I recommend going to do that if you haven't caught up with that one. I don't know if we look better or worse in 4K, but that can be for you to decide. I love that new booth. We will have it with us in Houston. And Chad, I think unless you got something else, that's pretty much it for me.
That's it. Let's wrap this puppy up.
Yeah, we got a little long, so let's play this closing theme. Let's bang our cowbell. Yeah. Little cowbell for Nick Cranford's first time. Bang a little cowbell for Alex for her first time talking about sustainability.
Nice job, Alex.
Bang a little cowbell for the forest fires and the Amazon. We hope those go out. Bang a little cowbell for everybody who's in harm's way of Hurricane Dorian.
Stay safe out there.
Bang a little cowbell for all the listeners of What the Truth. Bang a little cowbell for you sitting at your desk watching the live stream. Bang a little cowbell for the guy in the grocery store. Listen to us in his earbuds looking for some Kraft macaroni and cheese with the cauliflower. Pretty good, too. Have you had that? I got that from my keys. Delicious stuff.
No, that does not
Comfort
sound good.
Food for the soul.